Hi class, I'm going to briefly go through how to delete a counter or the negative space in a letter form and replace it with a new shape. What I'm going to do here is click on the type tool and I'm just going to type the word love, and you'll see this example in the student files that have also been uploaded if that's helpful. I have my color panel up. I love having that up in Illustrator. And you can see here it is right here in the window menu. All of these panels live in the window menu. Now let's go ahead and let's make this a little bit larger so that we can see it. Whoops, come on back down here. LOVE. I'm going to highlight that. Change up here. When you're in your type tool, then your panel here is available up at the top. This skinny panel is available for to change the font, the style of the font, and so on. And so I'm going to make this bold, make it a little chunkier. Of course, that's just personal taste. And you know, in Photoshop they have a scrubber that lets you resize. They don't have that in Illustrator, so you just got to hold your mouse down, and it's a little bit more cumbersome, or you have to enter it. There probably is a shortcut, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I know what it is, forgive me. So I don't work in Illustrator as much as I do in other programs, but if you click on your Move tool, this is also your resizer, and when you're in Illustrator, you have the ability to resize anything because it's a vector, most anything that you're working on in Photoshop. So when you have your Move tool, the bounding box shows up. Get in the corner and make sure you always hold down the Shift key with type. I think with just about anything, but oh my gosh, you do not want to squish type. Don't let it be squished. I've got my Shift key held down. Probably one of the biggest no-nos with type. And good typographers, good designers can see a slightly squished typeface from a mile away, and so it would probably be a little embarrassing. That's why I really want to be helpful and make that point. Now, once we have this, don't forget that in your type you can create the outlines. And this, watch how the bounding box changes and moves around each letter form. This is great because now if I click off of this, the path goes away, and then with the selection tool here, you can click on the particular areas. I think actually with your direct selection tool, this will allow you to come in and piece areas that you want to work on. Let me zoom in with the zoom tool, and forgive me, I really work more in Photoshop, so watch me be a little bit cumbersome here. It's not that big of a deal. But the direct selection tool is going to let you pick apart these paths. And paths are important. They hold the color. So you can click on this, just click off, get right on there, and you can press the delete key on the keypad. And this is one way to work. You could certainly delete this, or let me undo that, or change it. You could get right on here and start to, form your own, I could do a smiley face if I wanted. That looks kind of interesting. We could create a heart, which I would probably, you could create a heart by hand, this kind of thing. And so on and so forth. So that's kind of the idea here, is that you work that inner counter until you like the new shape. You might say, well, great, I love that. And, that's the idea. Now we've got a different shape happening. Now the other thing you could do, and I'm just going to do it, I'm going to click on this and just delete it. Because sometimes, I sometimes find that leaving the counter out will create a delightful shape that you will like, and you've probably seen that. So now what you could do is, of course, I think you could download certain shapes if you want, but what I really like to see from you all are your own hand-created shapes. So get away from the canned clip arty looking stuff and create your own shapes with the pen tool. So now I'm going to create a new shape, and that shape is going to be white. Now, before I actually click on white, because you can see this is black, make sure that nothing here has been clicked on with either your selection tool or your direct selection tool, because if you have something clicked, and I'll just show you, like this section, and then you go to white, it's just going to make that white. No, we don't want that. So I'm going to make that black. Click off of this and then move to your pen tool, because nothing is now targeted, and now say I want white. And it means that the next shape you create is going to be white, and you could make it any color you want. But I'm going to just pick white. And with the pen tool now, and I'm going to do my best to make kind of a cool heart. So I'm going to click and let go for the point of the heart, and then come over, click, holding down the mouse when you want to create a curve. And after each curved path segment, this is called a segment that's created between the two anchor points, I'm going to click on the center portion, which is your anchor point. And that will release one of the handles that controls the rest of your shape. So then I'm going to come around, and the smart guides, see this green line? The smart guides are really helpful when you're trying to be proportionate. And just to keep in mind, they're in your view menu down there. So I've done that. Now I'm going to come in. I'm measuring, so I'm looking at the distance here, and then I'm also, okay, so what I do is I use those smart guides to help shape, and they either work or they don't. I don't know. We'll see. And I'll probably have to form fit this some more. I mean, I'm looking at the fact that there's more width here. Always look at consistency when you're making letter forms, because if you note the consistency that occurs with a lot of these letter forms, unless the typeface is decorative, you know, we're thinking about that. And you can go back and reshape this again with your direct selection tool and move tool later. So I'm not going to worry right now. So then I'm going to come in again and click on that anchor point, the center piece here. And there we go. And then again, I'm coming into this. Sometimes this works in your favor. And if you need guides, because see, if I want to line up this anchor point, then I might go into the view menu and say, hey, I need guides. And guides live in your rulers. Let's show the rulers. And click up here, right in the ruler tab, click and drag, and you can bring down a guide. And that might be helpful here. Do some measuring if you need. Just remember, the whole goal here is to play. Don't get strung out about it being not perfect or, oh my gosh, just play. Okay? I'm kind of analyzing the edges. Let go. Coming into that center anchor point to get rid of one of the handles, and then moving to close this. And we'll hold the mouse down, drag, and when I make these, I'm really looking at the connection here, because you want that to be pretty seamless, and also the height of these areas. So that's pretty close. And then the direct selection tool is the editor of all of these little parts and pieces of that heart-shaped path, the blue path. And so you can come back in and rework these. You know, so I might, now that I have it made, you know, now I start to kind of analyze the width if I want. And that's really what's time consuming. I may not get this perfect for the lecture, but I want you to really think about the shape of the letter. See, I'm really looking at, okay, what is the shape here? You know, how well do these connect? Because, we think a lot about how is this looking? I'm probably making it worse, which is possible. This is not easy. And when you look at the student examples, you'll see that there is a lot of struggle with those, but I do want you to see what students did in a 1-week assignment with this subject. I'm really not liking mine, and that's okay. This is where, you want to start these projects early because they always take longer than we think. They do. Well, I'd have to keep working on this. This is the general idea. Now, that would be one you might want to think about, working that out. Certainly, I could even make it a littler shape, as long as I'm thinking about both the form and the counterform and the relationships and the consistency on each side. Don't just be haphazard about your balance of that. Click off and continue to work it out. And maybe you ought to have added another anchor point in here. If you do need to ever add an anchor point, that's just back with the pen tool. And you should be able to come in on their path, and when you see a plus sign, it means, hey, I need more of an anchor point here. You can pull another guide down and work with the direct selection tool even more. Click on the pen tool, add an anchor point, and just keep playing with your shape until you're happy. Happy. So that's the general idea of what we're doing. Now this is not perfect, but honestly this would take me a while to perfect. But I do want you to get the idea of where we're headed. This is a little lopsided heart, and maybe that's what you're saying, is that love can be lopsided, and I hope it isn't, because love is wonderful. But it's up to you to be able to express yourself with the counter. You can also express yourself with the openings of letter forms. When they're open-ended, they're apertures, and sometimes you'll hear them called counters as well, but there also is a word for these openings called apertures, and that is the goal. Take a look at the links that I've put up, because you'll see a lot of play here, and this is what logo development is all about, but also you'll see it in headers, all kinds of areas where you'll see the counter being played with. Now, you will also, if you want to work in Photoshop, let's say that you wanted to replace the O entirely. This is where I would say that you don't have to have original imagery, although it's really excellent when you can. But you might actually come in here and just, select this. And you can see with the direct selection tool, I'm trying to select it without selecting any of the other letters. And if you click and drag around the shape that you want, you can delete it with the delete key on your keypad. I think you can also cut here. No, I'm going to delete. But there then, and I don't really know what I would do, but maybe you would put an actual heart. That's the other part that you saw in Paul Rand's work, where he was just really exciting in the way that he would replace a letter form with a shape. So I might, create a heart, or go find a real photograph of a heart. Let me just fake it and go online really fast and quickly see if I can't find, just for this example. And this is for education, so it's fine. You could come in and grab, heart. This is a little trite. Hearts, you have to be a little careful, because hearts, what the word trite means is overused or kind of tacky. So you might play with I was sort of like the real heart myself. But let's say, and also, let's just grab this. I don't know if this is going to be a good size, but just to show you, I've opened this up as big as I can make it, holding down the control key on the keyboard, or right-clicking will give you the ability to copy it. And you could do this in Photoshop also, but paste. And there it is.